All right, so welcome everyone to the July BizPath webinar. BizPath puts together monthly webinars coming soon. We'll have some speed networking events, and our first workshop will be tentatively February 9th, if I'm not mistaken, where we're going to bring in business experts for a half day to talk to participants about how to make their businesses better. But tonight, our guest is Alexandra Noda. Alex wrote the book. Let me see if I can get it there so it's not blurry. It's not going to happen.
It's
Uh,
complicated. You have to read the title.
Yeah, it's
there,
impossible.
there you
Oh,
go.
you read it, Alice. You
So
still did.
Alex wrote 101 questions to ask before going into business together. So exciting topic because so many people go into business for all the wrong reasons, end up with all the wrong business partners. And today he's going to help us not make that same mistake. So Alex, welcome to the webinar. I forgot to mention, my co-host Román Novoa um, is with us tonight. And Alex, so tell us a little bit about yourself and the book.
Man, I'm incredibly honored to be here tonight. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm so happy to share this time with you guys and excited for the conversation, to say the least. Alex Noda, interesting background. I came to this country back in 2006 or 7. I was 16 years old and had no clue what I wanted to be, right? My parents always, like every other Hispanic household, they want their kids to be either doctors or attorneys. I thought that that's what I wanted for my life, but very quickly realized that was not the path. And one day, I'm at 16, 17 years old, I'm working at Burger King. And the day they trusted me enough to go and do the Saturday morning deposit, they recruited me, and that's what happened. I became a a lifelong career banker just by accident. Exactly what brought me to the industry. I started working in the business at 18 years old, and it's all I've done. 16 years later, I'm still here. um, Done a little bit of everything throughout my career. Worked the large majority of my path. Worked it on the retail banking side. I did anything and everything you could imagine. Within retail, I briefly worked on the wealth management side of the business. Went on to do leadership for a smaller banking institution that's based out of um, Georgia, uh, and did leadership for about 5 years. Managed a team that for 4 years was second in the country out of 265 locations. We crushed it. We crushed it. Never made it to number one because number one was sitting where the executives sit, and they get fed. Worked really hard there, and eventually just made a path. I got really, really passionate about the lending side of the business. I've always been relationship driven. Always wanted to work one on one with businesses. Passionate about advice, guidance, and education. So I decided to jump and make the leap into the commercial side of the business, and that's what I've been doing now for a while, and I enjoy it very much, and it's super, super fun because I'm working with people and just learning about their businesses literally every day. um, the idea behind the book, super interesting. About a year and a half ago, um, um, a mentor, you could say, was talking about a book called 101 Questions to Ask Before Getting Engaged. I'm like, okay, I've been married for over a decade. My wife will kill me because I can't remember how long it's been exactly, but um, I've been married for over a decade. But this sounds so interesting, right? And the person recommending it's so smart. Like, I think it deserves a chance because he was speaking at it like it had changed his marriage, although he had been married for 25 years. Got it, read it, thought it was really, really interesting concept, because the idea behind the book is like, okay, let's create a workbook that's full of empty pages with a question on the top, a preface on the bottom of what the question entails. And guess what? You now get space to write out a contract to each other about your values, your goals, everything you want to accomplish in your marriage. At the same time this is happening, I'm working with one of the largest supermarkets in the city, the owners of one of the largest supermarkets in South Florida. We all know who they are if you live in Miami, but they're gonna go unmentioned here just for privacy, right? Uh, been in business for 40 years, handshake type of deal, Cuban folks, and one of the partners passes away unexpectedly. From one day to the next, the surviving partners, not only grieving the missing partner, his brother, friend for 40 years, built an empire together, but now he's doing business with the family of the deceased. Not a good spot to be at. They're fighting over money, direction, strategy, you name it, right? One party knows how to run the business, that's what they've done. The other party knows how to spend the money that's produced by the business and nothing else. So legal battle, no buy and sell agreement, nothing in place, nothing, zero. Legal battle, just a headache. I was part of the deal team that gave some advice and guidance throughout the process to ensure that the surviving partner could buy out the family at something that was reasonable. One of the things that I suggested, just so that this adds value to the audience here, you could be an owner and an operator at the same time. When you have to get paid for both, right? Ownership, you own it. You get paid whether you never visit the business. When you're an operator, you should get paid for being an operator. So what we suggested is like, go do some market research, understand what the CEO and operator of a supermarket chain with this many locations, with this many assets, with this much revenue and sales would make in the state. Present it to the family, take that as a salary, and then your 50% of distributions, it's your ownership, right? So that's exactly what happened. That reduced the bottom line a little bit for the family, and they eventually decided to sell at a discount instead of the premium they were asking for. So that was a long story, but that's what led me to write the book. I said to myself one day, hey man, how does this not exist? The same concept does not exist for businesses. At the end of the day, if you're going into business with somebody, it's a marriage, whether you want to believe it or not. Or a marriage is a business transaction, whether you want to believe it or not. So I thought it was going to be unique. I named it pretty much the same way. I followed the exact same formatting. The only difference is that I included some checklists and real world scenarios in recent history on how some of these concepts could apply and what headaches you could not have by following the questions in the book, and that's about it. That's what happened.
I love the concept of a great workbook, because you get those thoughtful questions that you need to sit and ponder on. So this format for me is fantastic. When you speak with individuals who are looking to build a partnership, start a company together, what's the very first question they need to ask one another?
Well, if we revert back to the book, what's your long-term vision for the business, right? I think the most important thing, and the reason why most businesses fail, it's because they don't have alignment. Most people, I mean, this happening at every level of relationships, not only in business. People have a lot of difficulty with communicating, right? Having tough conversations, reaching alignment, understanding each other, understanding their goals. Sometimes they don't even know themselves, right? So the fact that you're not having these conversations early on will be difficult. So yes, the first question should be, what are we going to do with this? What's the goal? What's the ultimate plan? That's oversimplified, but it's true. Businesses, most people think it's about money, and people fail because they go broke. It's not about that at all. It's not about that at all.
Yeah, the going broke is a side effect.
Yeah, it's a side effect. Exactly.
Alex, the story about the supermarket is a very interesting story. When partners have conflicts, when is the right time to look for a mediator?
Oof. I mean, ideally, we got to take it back, right? I like to start with the ending in mind, right? If you have a contract with yourself. And I hate to do this. It's a workbook, right? If you sat down early on, had the conversations, understood each other, what you wanted to get out of the business, what you wanted to do, a mediator might not even be necessary if you have the correct legal structure in place, and we could delve into all of that. But to now directly answer your question, I would say when you're having an issue and you can't resolve it, ideally you will want to get a mediator, but you could avoid getting to that point, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's the concept that, good fences make good neighbors, and having a solid working agreement is essential for a good business relationship.
Yeah, partnership agreement, like every partnership or whichever classification of business you're gonna incorporate, you should have some legal documentation stipulating ownership percentages, what are obligations in the business, who owns what, like what's the exit strategy on this. All of that should be clearly stipulated from the beginning, or from the point that you learned that this was essential, right? Because sometimes you might be in business today, right, but you might not know that these things are necessary, because guess what, your friends, usually everything's beautiful until there's conflict.
Yes.
And conflict comes from not having alignment, going back to the alignment word, on how do you call it, on values. Because we might share the same vision, right? I'm sure that Román and Julio want to take this podcast or workshop to the next level. That's the vision. You both share it. The values is how do you get there?
Yeah.
If you don't have alignment there, like, it's gonna be difficult, because if you're pulling to one area and the other one's pulling to the other one, ultimately who makes the decision? So I say it doesn't matter. You could be 50-50 on paper in equity, like you could own 50-50 the business in your operating agreement, partnership agreement, whichever agreement you have. There should be one person that's in charge of company direction, and that should be on paper.
That's great. That's a great advice.
Yeah, definitely. And it's never too late to come up with that.
Never. The best time was before going into business together. The second best time is tonight. Going to LegalZoom and draft one.
It's so similar to getting married, right?
It's exactly the same thing.
It's exactly the same. Well, that's one of the biggest partnerships that you have in your entire life, and it has some similarities.
If you ask my wife, it's the most important one.
Well, actually, I think that she might be right. And let me ask you, now that you mentioned your wife, did you read that book, 101 Questions Before Getting Married?
Did we read it together? No, we
Yeah.
didn't. No, we have been married. Man, I met my wife. I was 16 years old. I met her in high school.
Sweet.
So like, I've been with her for 18 years. I think this partnership is solidified at this point.
Congratulations.
So yeah, it's have, like anything else, right? Let's use every analogy here just to illustrate the point. Anything that you want to build should stand on a solid foundation. Solid foundation should be about trust, values, objective, direction, call it whichever way you want. And the best way to protect that trust, right? You handshake on trust. The best way to protect that trust is to write it down. If that's not gonna work, then don't do it. Humble, honest opinion after seeing it. I probably dealt with, over in my career, 16 years, I don't know, 10,000 businesses at this point that I've worked with.
And what do you tell business owners that have, there's the 51% ownership, right? But, when there's a larger discrepancy, some are bringing money, some are bringing knowledge. What do you tell those individuals about structuring the business?
going back to what I guess I just explained this too soon. The ownership and how do you call it, direction could be separated. As an example, you could be a shareholder of a bank and own a piece of the business. Obviously, you're talking about majority stake, right? Which is a little different, and I'll go into that later. But ownership and who's leading strategy for the business should be independent to each other. That's why I would always recommend that you, when you draft your partnership agreement or your operating agreement, that you have clear direction on who's going to be doing what. When you have a majority stake and that person it's an operator, they call the shots. That's just part of, contractually speaking, I own the business, right? If you have a separate agreement in place where you say that you relinquish your right to call the shots, I don't know how that could be done. I guess that's legal advice, and you should consult with an attorney. But if we're speaking about technicalities, 51% is a bad example. But if you own 30%, 40%, right, of the business, you still have majority. But you could stipulate on paper who should be leading the business. I don't know if that answered the question.
It does. I'm thinking of a specific example, and we were talking earlier about writing the book. My dad's company. My dad passed several years ago, but the company that he was with, he had 25% stake, and for me, it's a great case study on a business gone wrong, because the structure was wrong, the division of assets was wrong. So there was a lot, that could have been done in that business, and it was a rather successful business. And after he passed, it was acquired and part of a much bigger business, but it had so much more potential than what it ever got to. So that's the case.
Yeah, something like that. You could do like a how do you call it, a capital contribution agreement, so that you're separating your ownership stake with your contribution to the business to the responsibilities, right? So that's what I would advise in something like that, right? That's what happens with private equity many times. So when you get a PE firm that will come in and they would not do anything other than buying the majority stake on your business, usually what they ask you to do, let's just use numbers here to illustrate the point. Let's say I'm running a business that's doing $2 million in EBITDA a year, or adjusted EBITDA, which is better, right? What's better than EBITDA? Adjusted EBITDA. I'm doing $2 million in adjusted EBITDA a year. And let's say I'm getting a 5 multiple on my business, right? My business is worth 10 million bucks. They will come in and say, here's 10 million bucks, or here's 5 million bucks. I'm buying 50% of the business, 51% of the business. But I want you to do a recontribution of equity with the 5 million that I'm giving you in cash. I want you to buy back 2 million bucks, so that you still have skin on the game, and in the potential sale as we grow the business, you make X more dollars at that point. They would take the majority stake. They will call the shots. But guess what? Why are they asking you to do a capital contribution back into the business? Because they want you to continue to run it.
Yes.
Right? You have run the business. I'm buying it for you because you made it successful. I want you to stay here. That's a contractual agreement, going back to what you mentioned, Julio, where I'm still owning 51%. I'm allowing you to run the business, but contractually speaking, I say which direction are we going. And that's why in PE transactions, within 2 years, the CEO is gone. Either it's exited by the PE firm, or they decide to go, right? And they lose their how do you call it? I forgot now. I forgot. Completely forgot.
Options?
No, they're options. They're options.
Yeah. Alex, I always believe that sometimes people rush into partnerships. They just boom.
100%.
If you can share your ideas about this, when is good to pick up consultant like Julio over a partner? What is a good point of,
Simple.
thinking about, you know, you like
Simple,
that,
man.
Julio, huh? You like
Simple. Listen, I would say that there's three things that you look at when you're trying to go into a partnership, and I'll break them down like this: time, resources, and know-how. Right? Does the person that I'm going into business with have more or less time than me? Do they have more money or less money than me? And do they know more or less than me? Why are these things important? Because most of the times, many of the partnerships that happen with my buddy from high school, that we have the same background, that we've been bankers at the same bank for 10 years. What does he know that I don't know, right? Do we not have the same level of expertise, of know-how, of resources, of time? It's the same thing. Like, you would want to go into business and your equity is precious. If you're going to give it away, if you're going to effectively give your half your equity away to somebody that could bring to the table the same thing that you bring, you essentially just threw away your equity. So yes, going back to your point, you would want to go into business with people that could add to your business a different level of know-how, maybe some capital if needed, a way to save you time somehow, or accelerate your path because they've done it before. And in many cases, that might just be better by hiring a consultant, right? Because you're not relinquishing your equity, which is so much more valuable over the long term. And I hope I sold Julio's business here very well. It was not scripted.
I was gonna say, all I heard is wah 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 wah. Hire Julio, wah wah wah.
But Julio, it's a good question because people. I mean, I've seen people doing partnerships in a bar. Oh, because I love you and I love you too.
Or the family, man, the family partnership.
Oh, the family.
That's those are the worst.
Listen, I went through that. I went through that personally. Back in 2015, my wife was pregnant with my second child. I got 4 months of go home to take care of your wife type of situation because the banks are crazy. And they sent me home to not do anything. I got paternity leave, if you could believe it. Bored out of my mind. And my grandfather had the great idea of creating a business, a travel agency, to accelerate and not spend 2 hours here telling you that story. We made it into something very successful rather quickly. Very successful rather quickly. And one day, his wife and my wife were working in the business. I was like not the absentee CEO. And my wife and his wife were actually running the day-to-day at the business. And guess what? Like any other partnership, there's people that contribute more resources to others. And 50-50 is always beautiful until you realize that you're doing 90% of the work. It's always beautiful. So that's why it's so important to have a contractual agreement. Who the hell's doing what? And for what stake? And if that doesn't happen, how do we escape that agreement? All right. So that wasn't panning out. And eventually we sold the business. We sold the business at a deep discount just to get out of it. We made money. Don't get me wrong. We made money on the exit, but it sucked. My wife didn't want to do it. But guess what? I said, if we keep it and we buy them out, this is going to be a forever type of situation within the family. So I'm selling this crap.
Yeah. Good choice. Family over business.
Good choice. Thank you, sir. Yes.
Yeah. I always.
Yeah, we sold in 2018.
Good timing too.
Oh yeah, then Obama. It was primarily targeted towards Cuba and Latin America, and then Obama came in and opened the no more charters, and they opened like the airlines on 2019. And guess what? Now you were not making $150 per ticket anymore. You were making whatever you want to upcharge the client because they could buy the ticket on Google Flights. So it was beautiful timing. Sad to say that timing for the buyer, but Good timing for me.
With as
That's
many,
funny. I'm sorry, Julio. You
uh,
made me remember 2019. I have a phone call from this very good friend of mine from the cell phone industry. He says, Román, I'm desperate. I've been losing money with one business, another business, and all I have left is $50,000. I don't know what to do. I'm scared to invest it. And then I got a friend of mine inviting me to a business that I don't know anything about, but he needs some money and he's gonna give me 50%. And then I asked, what type of business? It's a lab, but I never have a business that had to do with blood testing and stuff like that. I say, that, bro, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know anything about that type of business. So fast forward, that was 2019 in March. Fast forward in September. Listen, I got into the business. I'm desperate. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. Papa, let's go have a beer because I don't know what else to tell you. And then COVID.
Wow.
That's
That
perfect timing, bro.
did he go into the business?
Yeah, he went into the business.
He killed it.
He made a lot of money. He's still
He
making
killed it.
money. I mean, right timing. It's amazing the timing.
Yeah.
He didn't know. It was nothing that he started it or he was prepared. No. He was only boom.
Sometimes, listen. Sometimes it's meant to happen for you. You're at the right time. The right place at the right time, and things happen. That's my banking career. I would have never been a banker, honestly, if they didn't send me that Saturday to the bank. Same thing.
Wow, that's amazing. Julio.
so Alex, with as many businesses as you've been involved in, through the bank and so forth, I'm sure you've seen a ton go completely sideways. What is that first red flag that you see, or they come to you and they say, whatever is happening, what's that first, thing that you see most often?
Most people would think it's financial, but it's not financial. It's not a financial flag. Obviously, looking back at it, you could see when revenue started dropping or margins started to compress and all of that. But initially, it's not about money whatsoever. It's always about the relationship with the partners. What's happening within it, like what's happening with the employees, right? I would say the heart and the soul of any business, if your business relies on employees, which is the vast majority of businesses do, the most important asset that you have in your business, it's people, right? Whether that's for the expertise, for doing the actual work. We had Román and your assistant setting this whole thing up before anybody got here. People are the lifeblood of a business. And what happens is that when you have conflict within the owners, it's like a marriage, right? It becomes rather public and it becomes rather uncomfortable and it affects the people. Now, eventually, you get conflicting information on company direction. Now, you got somebody saying to operations, this is what we should do. And then the other guy is saying, no, don't do that. This is what we should do. So usually that's the first flag, right? And you see that in employee turnover. You see that in retention, acquisition challenges. So this happens in banks too, believe it or not, right? You could determine, because I managed for 5 years, you could determine how effective a manager is by how much turnover their locations have, right? You could just know if they're being good people, if they have a good approach, if they have a good sense of direction, because usually when you have good people leading you, they lead you well and you like to be around something like that. When that's not the case, it's a revolving door, right? So normally you see it on that, at least that has been my experience. All of a sudden they had employees for 20 years and they start dropping like flies. That has been like the first telltale sign for me. All of a sudden they lose contracts with suppliers or distributors because of fractured relationships, that's usually what happens, and then that leads the financial is just cascading down from that. But it's always communication. It's always the lack of communication or empathy or whatever you want to call it.
Oh, and a lot of business owners, don't realize that they don't realize the impact they're having on their employees,
Massive.
and how that filters out to the customer base.
Massive.
Because if you have your employees in a not so much in a large enterprise setting, but in a smaller business where you may have a more direct relationship with your customers, they establish a closer bond, and they talk. So all of a sudden you have your employees telling your customers, oh, Joe, is doing this, and the other one's doing something else, and all of a sudden your dirty laundry is not just scattered across your employees, but across your customer base, and that's just going to accelerate the financial issues
Yeah.
of that disconnect.
And listen, because it's been a recurring topic here tonight. I think conflict is inevitable. Conflict always happens. We're all human beings. My wife will scream at me, or like my kids would step on my shoes, and I'll be upset today, and maybe I just mistreat you. It will happen. An account just got canceled or whatever. I will face with challenges, but the question is, when that happens, what's the plan?
Or you send 7,000 emails the wrong way.
Right? It's meant to happen. It's normal. We're all human beings. Nobody's perfect. Like this book, probably I need 1,001, not 101. But the idea is communicate, empathize, have share values. No share values, no business, and like work on direction. Like, I'm not saying that if we go into business together, I need to call the shots. I'm saying we collectively decide who will ultimately say this is where we're heading, considering the input of everybody here, right? Because it's also not discounting the input, because all of a sudden, if I have shareholders at the bank and everybody's concerned about me having losses, as an example, right? And I just say, screw the losses. I'm just going to continue growing, and by default, I'm just going to have losses. We're going to lose shareholders, right? It's not about that. It's about understanding what they want accomplished, and then saying, going back to that, at that point, it should be a something in recent memory, right? We have an agreement about this. If we have an agreement, this should be on paper, black and white. I will take into account all your suggestions and input. We want the same thing, which is to grow the business and advance our mission. I will get back to you on what we're going to do to try to reach consensus. But this is ultimately where I want to lead this. And you guys trusted me to do this on our agreement. Please continue to trust me to do it.
That's great. I have a question that probably both of you can answer. So I'm going to break a little bit the way that we do this, and I want Julio to participate also and answer this. The rate of success for new companies when they have only one owner or when they have multiple owners, what can you reflect on that? Do people that have partners tend to success more or not?
I think, and maybe you guys help me here. These are not statistics that I know.
Yeah, I mean, we're just talking about our own spirit.
I would say, so Dave Ramsey, you guys know Dave Ramsey, right?
Yeah.
He says that any being with two heads, it's an abomination. Right? So imagine a dog with two heads, a human with two heads. It's an abomination, meaning it's difficult, right? Without knowing, I would imagine that businesses that are started by a founder and then eventually brings on consultants like Julio and other people to help them in what they want to do might be more successful. I do not know. The only stat that I have in the book, and this was confirmed by maybe 10 hours of research, so just don't hold me to it. Is that on average 50% of the partnerships that are created fail. And I don't have the stats of how many businesses are incorporated into partnerships, but at any level, 50%, it's a lot.
Yeah, statistically, franchises have a better chance
Mm-hmm.
of succeeding. And that's because they have all of the structure in place of the franchise. You
Right.
know, you have a in big quotes proven method. You know, at this point, you know, anybody that starts a McDonald's, if they fail, they really screwed things up.
Yeah, really.
You know, because McDonald's, you're pretty much guaranteed to make $1 million your first year or some
Mhm.
ridiculous number
Mhm.
like that. You know, the smaller franchises, yeah, you know, if they're too small, they're unknown, they don't have sufficient units to be able to maximize advertising. You know, those are going to struggle a little bit more, but they're still going to have a better chance of succeeding because they have that operations manual. So when you buy a franchise, and I bought a franchise years ago, never took it anywhere, you get, you know, your franchise operations manual. This is what you can do. You know, this is what you can charge. This is what you cannot do. And you have to follow that, and you have to report up, you know, to the franchise. So you've got that strong structure in place. Um, but that said, you know, if you are not a strong leader, if you go into a franchise with a partner and you don't have that clear vision and, you know, linked goals, to Alex's point, you're still going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, you know, let's assume we have that in place, then, you know, the structure of the business from an execution perspective, not legal, not hierarchy, but from an execution perspective, you know, that is what makes a business successful. But, you know, the first part is, you know, that leadership.
Yeah, it comes down to that, right? And people are always asking for like the secret sauce in anything, right? How do you lose weight? How do I become rich? How do I have a happy marriage? We all know what we got to do. It's just executing on it is so hard. Like eating salad every day of the week sucks. Running sucks, right? Like doing all of that sucks, but it's what you got to do. It's no different in business. To be successful, you got to communicate well. You got to communicate early. You have to have alignment, or else it's not going to work.
Be responsible. You know, hold each other accountable. It's so important.
Yeah, but it's not enough. I've seen it not being enough, because what happens is that accountability could look different for different people.
Yes,
Yes.
you're right.
Right.
That value that
And
it
what happens
differs
is-
from one person to another.
And what happens is that one day, because there's familiarity, right? We're friends, we're co-workers, we're call it whatever way you want. We're partners. We feel that. So I'll illustrate it with an example. Let's hold each other accountable. I see you, Román, working like a maniac, right? Coño, I want Román to continue to work hard. You know, he's growing the business. I'll do my thing, but I'll exploit him now for a little bit, you know, but I'll hold them accountable. Now, on the flip side, you're like, damn, I'm killing myself here. And this guy ain't doing nothing. Let me hold him accountable, because I'm doing all the work. It's accountability at that moment equal? No, it's not. It's a call to action, but to uphold the accountability, black and white.
Yeah, you're right.
Simple. I've seen it, man. I've seen it over and over and over again. Over and over. Family. I've seen it. I'm dealing with a business right now, like right now. I don't even know if I should talk about this. Wholesaler. Local in the city. Mom and dad passed away 2 years ago. Son has been the operator for 30 years. Sister owns 45% of the business. Talk about who's leading this. Over 10%? Do you really call it shots over 5%, 6%? No, I call it shots too. Direction, alignment. So how do you deal with that, right? How do you keep each other accountable? You can't. In that situation, you really can't. You needed something more structured. And that's what I guess that's the perfect example, Roman, of when you should need a mediator. And a
Okay.
mediator and a mediator doesn't necessarily have to be an attorney or an accountant.
It can be a
It could
person.
be anybody. It could be a friend of the family. It could
A
be
tiebreaker.
a business owner that
Yeah.
you guys have good relationships. That's something else that people fail to realize too. And I don't know if I made reference to this on the book, but you could ask for help outside of legal help, because I have a whole legal section on there, 20 pages or so, or 30 pages, 40, maybe 50 pages. You don't necessarily need an attorney to help you find resolution within your business. Maybe it's just a close friend. Maybe it's just somebody that you know, another person that you respect that's far ahead than you are in business, and they need to call you in your BS. I've seen it happen too.
And usually it is related to the willingness from both parties to,
Yeah.
because at early stage, if both parties, they really want to come to an agreement, but they thinking that one party is taking, advantage over the other, maybe a regular mediator can fix that situation. But if they are not aligned at that level, then you might need to hire a lawyer and
I've always said it, and I'll repeat it again. Probably the third time I said it here. Being a best friend, being a good friend, is not a qualification to go into business together. It's not.
sometimes you can lose a friend.
Yeah.
I'd
And-
rather keep a friend than going into business with somebody that I know is a no-no. It's
And
like
what-
lending money.
Yeah. And
You
watch
know-
out for people that don't like to have tough conversations. Watch out.
Yeah.
Because if you can have them when things are pretty and all rainbows and unicorns, when you know what hits the fan, they're not gonna want to have it.
I had this really good friend of mine, like 4 years ago. He asked me for help. He needed some money. And then I said, listen, I'm not lending the money, I'm giving it to you. No, I'm gonna pay. I'm giving it to you. I don't lend money to my friends because I'd rather to keep the friendship. Guess what? He never paid. I didn't ask him to pay, but he was so embarrassed. He stopped
I
calling
never
me.
asked you for money again.
Yeah,
Yes.
but he stopped calling me.
Yeah.
Like I still lost my friend because of money. And, I brought that. It's a different topic, but maybe it correlates to, doing business with a friend because we're just friends.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So interesting. Very interesting. And then I guess the how do you call it? The one thing that I wanted to make an emphasis, I actually wrote this down. It's maybe some of those contractual agreements you want to have in place. We made reference to some of those things. And again, I'm not an attorney. We have people in here, I'm not an attorney whatsoever. Like, I'm the last person that you want to come to for legal advice. But throughout my experience, this is some of the things that I have seen after working with several thousands of businesses over 16 years that just keep recurring, right? And Julio, I hope you agree with this or with some of this, because you're in that business, right? You're in that world. We alluded to having a partnership agreement or operating agreement.
Yep.
Right? That's the foundational document. Ownership, profit sharing, decision-making rules, conflict resolution, how do we exit? All of that should be in there. All of it. Right? That's the rules of the game. And I like to say this too. I heard this from, I think, Alex Hormozy. What's the ultimate rule in the game of business? To stay in the game, to stay in business.
There you go.
Right? So all of that should be in there if you plan to stay in business. Buy and sell agreement. You know why? That's what led to this book. If I want to exit, when I want to exit, whatever. If I die, what happens? Right?
That's so
If I
important.
become incapacitated, like there's so many things that could happen, right? Then what? Ask yourself that question.
Great.
IP, right? Intellectual property, assignment rights. Am I gonna just vanish and take the logo, the trademarks, all the stuff that has value in the business. Shouldn't happen, right? So have something like that. Non-compete and confidentiality agreement. You don't want your second to just go and be your biggest competitor.
Wow.
Makes sense to me, right? Open shop next to me, undercut me on pricing, or offer more value, which I like better. Don't compete in price, compete in value.
You know, I got a funny story about that.
Tell me.
15 years ago, I was the best sales person in this company that we used to sell cell phone accessories to Latin America. And I had this great idea to open up my own business, you know, and I said, okay. And then my wife back then says, listen, you need to talk to the owner of the company because that's the right thing to do. And I said, wow, yeah, you're right. I didn't thought about it. I was so excited to be, you know, in business. And then I went to talk to him and say, okay, I got no problem. You leaving. Good news and bad news. Say, okay, tell me. Okay, you cannot take any of the customers that you handle at this point. And I went like, oh, boop.
How come?
No, but, and you can only take one vendor from our database. And I was like, and then he said, come back to me, let me know if you want to do it. And I went 1 week, come back and say, yeah, I still want to do it because I have super confidence that I can make new customers. And he said, okay, I didn't tell you about this, but you need to open your store across the street. And I went trembling. Well, long story short, this guy helped me build my business by sending me business all day long, sending me deals. So he helped me grow my company exponentially just because I did the right thing. And he helped me, you know, with customers that he sent to me that didn't belong to the company.
Wow.
And vendors, he was my first vendor. So
well, that's a good guy. And
that's a really good guy.
That's somebody you wanted to work for. That's not the standard.
That's not the standard. I know.
And he was also lucky because I would assume that he told you out of goodwill, don't do this. But it doesn't sound to me like you had an agreement with him.
No, I didn't have an agreement. It was all peace and value. I respect it. It was hard for me to respect it.
That's the law of the universe, my friend. You do good, good comes back in return to you.
You cannot imagine how many nights I thought about breaking that deal. I mean, breaking my word to him, you know?
Right. But that would be compromising your values. It's not something you want to do anyways.
Yes. But
the last one is not that, but it could be related to that. It's like we mentioned this one before. It's like that capital contribution agreement. Who's contributing what? That could be a clause in your generalized agreement, but like what equity are you bringing in? Is it sweat equity? Like, right? Is it money, time, other assets? And that one to me is big, simply because I've seen it not being in place, and when it's in place, it avoids resentment. Because we know that we agreed on me owning 30% of the business for sweat equity, because I'm going to come in and create, either hire a management team or create systems, railway for the business, as in, you know, operations or whatever, or build a sales team or do whatever, but I got no money. Eventually the company grows and you come into this issue of resentment. Oh, damn, you know, he helped. Yeah. He actually 5 years ago, he helped me build the sales team. And look, we grew from 10 to 50 million, but damn, he owns 30%. And he put not a diamond. No. Look, I did, just in other ways that are maybe not quantifiable to you, because if I grew the business that much, but it happened. So that one's it's key. And all of those are in the book too.
So Alex, what do you recommend to young entrepreneurs looking to start a business? Where should they start?
Listen, it doesn't have to be mine. Most of the information in in the world today. That's the beauty about living in this day and age. Most information is absolutely free, right? I would hate to mislead anybody. You could Google whatever and it will come up. It's free.
Yeah.
But if you want something that's streamlined, it's already ready for you. It's an agreement of sorts because you're like drafting this contract to each other, right? What I love about this book is that some of the clients that I've visited, some of the clients that I manage in my portfolio today, that have either top level, high level executives or business partners, I go in there with 2 books and I say, you know what, you guys have been extremely successful. I just have a challenge for you all. If you want, read it and answer it and just gift it to each other. So that in a way, because it's an enforceable agreement because it's your letter and ink to each other and it holds binding in court.
That's a great suggestion.
Yeah, it is
So
great.
that's the idea behind the book. Just read it. I think it's a fun read. It's super simple because I wish we could show it here. It's a bunch of empty space, guys. It's literally question, preface on the question, space for you to write your answer. There's a lot of reading on the book still because what I did different because I wanted to bring actionable when these things break, and not to be pessimistic, but when these things break, and you read about it and you see what went wrong, it sort of like opens up your world. I added some case studies on there, some checklists and stuff to go through. And to me, that's where most of the value outside of asking the tough questions comes from. So get it. It's on Amazon. By the way, I like to think that I'm a super generous guy. It's on if you have Kindle Select, you will get it for free. I don't think it costs you nothing. If you're getting a physical copy, it will cost you because we gotta pay for shipping and all of that. But Kindle Select, that's my gift to you. You could go buy it. I think it's Kindle Select is like $9 a month or $6 a month or whatever. You could get this book for free. It's an easy read. I personally read it just a few times already, and you could go through a book in just a handful of days.
Amazing.
And what's next for Alex?
Next for Alex, man, listen, I'm passionate about banking. I'll be a career banker. What's next for me at some point will be to become CEO of a bank. That's my ultimate goal. It's a lot of path to cover still. So for now, I'll just continue to help businesses that need help, either because they want help in running their day-to-day banking operation, or they need some lending to continue to grow the business, or simply they just need somebody to talk to for advice. So that's what I'm passionate about. I am a good banker. I believe I am a good banker, and I'll continue being a kick-ass banker down here in Miami, Florida.
You put it out into the universe, and it'll come right back to you, man.
Yes,
Oh man,
I believe so.
listen, I've been saying that since I started working my first week at the bank. So something I didn't mention. Do we have time still?
Yeah, we have 6
Okay.
minutes.
So I go to the window. I'm freaking out, like completely freaking out. I got $5,200 on a little pouch, and I'm like, what happens if there's fake money in here? Like, what if they rob the bank now? Like, do you give me like something to take back to my job? Like, what is it to be a banker? Like, right? In my nature is to be curious, and I'm asking all these questions to this kid, and he said, dude, like, he was about my age, and he told me, dude, like, you could do this job. This is what it is. It's like sparking interest, having conversations. So they send me, they give me an opportunity, they give me a phone number. I call Blanca Castro. I will never forget. Thank you, Blanca. Interviewed me, and I go into an interview setting with maybe 36 people in a room. I'm 18 years old, barely. My grandfather lent me a shirt. Let's just say it was a little baggy. Crooked tie, no blazer, a short pant. You could see my ankles. It was not my day, man. It was not my day. And all of these people were in this room, just super articulate, like more seasoned than me, you know, suitcase, all that stuff. And I walked away from that meeting that day and I said, God damn it. Like, this is impossible. This is a dream that this is not ever going to happen. Maybe 2 weeks later, I get the call and I get invited to be a banker at one of the branches, or offered to be a banker at one of the branches. And it completely changed my life. The first week at the bank, Bernardo Hernandez, my first manager ever at the bank, at that location in Little Havana, not Little Havana, 7th and 37th by Kmart.
Yeah.
Asked me, what do you want to do in your career? My first day or two. And I said to him, one day, I want to be CEO of the bank. Because if that's the highest level of the game, that's where I want to go to. And I've kept that dream to this day. So if I don't make it, I'm going to get really, really high up that.
You make it. You make it.
You've definitely got the right stuff for it.
Yeah, we spoke in Julio. We spoken on the phone a little bit, but now it's different when I'm on the phone and when I'm on game. When it's, I don't know, man. I'm passionate about this stuff, so it's easy to do something that you enjoy doing.
Alex, would you mind sharing your social media channels so people can follow you?
LinkedIn is the best one, like Alexander Noda. I mean, it's Alexander Noda everywhere. So Alexander, like Alexander the Great, not related. And Noda, N-O-D-A. In Spanish, no da nada.
No da nada, o da mucho.
Da mucho. So Alexander Noda, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all the stuff. You can find me there. I'm super active on LinkedIn. I think I probably have 10,000 or so followers almost.
Yeah.
I post every other day, and people like the stuff I post because it's real.
Yes, it's very natural. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Alex. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us tonight. I know that our viewers and future viewers will greatly enjoy the conversation. You and I have to have a one-on-one.
Let's do it whenever you want.
So I'll reach out.
I want a one-on-one too.
Yeah, we'll do a 2-on-1 then.
Sure.
That's not a bad idea.
So again, thank you very much. I'm Julio Gonzalez, VCTO Consulting, my partner.
Román Novoa with Links Digital Marketing.
All right, and thanks to all, and again, thank you, Alex. Hope everyone has a fantastic evening. Take care.